Are you a go? Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
Yep.
Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
Brad Wren.
Hey.
Hey, John Curley.
Guys, Daytona's getting close.
It is, and William Westbrook.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
On today's show, we discuss the Road to Pro changes for 2026. Get you up to date on the 2025 Season 1 Patch 2. See what you need to add haptics to your rig? Ask if the racing line is needed. More sim to reality stories. Get an update on the Sim Gaming Expo and see who turned 15 years old and see how a 5090 compares to a 4090 in iRacing.
And remember that you can follow along with us on your PC or your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com, selecting the show notes. We hope to see you there.
So did we not cover this last week, or if we just talked about it so much that I feel like we haven't covered it? Because there's a lot of changes coming to eNASCAR in 2026.
Yeah, we talked about it in the chat. We didn't bring it up on the show.
Yeah, it feels like so long ago, huh?
Yeah, the basic summary is the Contender Series, where they ran the Xfinity Series or cars, where the bottom 20 raced against the top 20 from Road to Pro. That part is gone, or will be going. That's the essential gist of it. So all of the guys who get kicked out of the road racing or who make the bottom 20 in Coke Series basically will have to run Road to Pro.
But I got confused because how does the timing of that work, though?
So so the top 20 after 2025 will stay in. The rest will run a qualifying series, consists of 11 rounds. Should start, I think, between February and April of 2026. So 11 weeks to determine, I guess, who's going to end up being in the driver pool for the 2026 Coke iRacing Series.
So Coke racing starts after April?
Yep. So they won't start till, I think, May.
I think that's a big miss.
I agree.
Yeah, why would you not try to use it for, as promotion, which they have been, to pump up the regular NASCAR season coming into the Daytona 500, and so forth. They're going to miss all of that.
Because it previously, what did we normally run through? What, about September or so was when it was be done? Early October?
And the new schedule ends when, do you know? Maybe they're trying to align it with the back half of the NASCAR schedule.
It doesn't say. I mean, it's...
Well, I think it ends in October. That's when it's going to...
Yep, there you go. Yep, October. So still be the normal Tuesday night slot. But I guess there'll be a little bit more possibility of more back-to-back races, as opposed to how it's been like this, this past year. I guess it was sometimes you had, a week or two in between races at times.
Essentially what it comes down to is the Contender Series is less important now that whether or not you can bring money affects whether you get in or not.
So what about the 9 people that don't make it? That's gone in the new format?
It doesn't say. So that was new this year, where I think last year what ended up being just the top 40. So everybody got in through the draft, just depending on who you got drafted by. But yeah, like this year, there were 9 guys that qualified but didn't get picked up. We did cover that, I think, maybe last week or week before last.
Yeah, the article did not specify how many people would qualify to be drafted. It wasn't in there when I read it.
So I think I like this change for the fact that it's not a grind now that takes most of a year. So currently the Road to Pro starts in February and goes however long, and then you have the Xfinity Series, and that's the entire season. And so by making this change, they're eliminating that entire grind. It's a few short weeks, before April. You got to just get in, and then you go racing. So I like it for that, because the grind was too much. We've seen so many good drivers step away from Coke racing because of the grind, and so forth, especially if they have to go back through the road to pro. The other thing I want to throw out is this eliminates the whole snake eye splits, or snake splits, whatever you call them, that they currently do. And when they did those snake splits, it made it easier to make the Coke series if you had a 4,000, 5,000 I rating, a 6,000 I rating, and you didn't need that 8 or 9,000 I rating. Well, this change eliminates the snake split, from what I understand, and you're going to have the I rating to get even close. You're not going to be able to make it by winning second or third split. You got to be in the top split.
So instead of having to grind road to pro, now you just have to grind I rating.
Correct.
I think the big miss is not starting in Daytona in February with everybody else. There's a lot of hype even for the iRacing at that time to get started.
Yeah.
The other miss, Bobby, I think, is the timing of this announcement. I think and the way that this communication was written was very poor. And I'm sure others thought, as I read through it the first 1.5 times, that they were somehow talking about doing something this year and changing what's happening this year. It changes what happens next year. And I was just super confused.
You sure that wasn't done just to kind of bury the story maybe a little bit?
Well, but I think they had to get it. If you're not going to run if road to pro is not going to be a thing, that would have been starting here very quickly, wouldn't it? So you had to get ahead of it. If you're not going to use road to pro, you can't start it. You can't wait till later in the year and already have guys running road to pro.
Right, they got to announce it now, because people were waiting for that series to show up in iRacing, actually. Coming up shortly.
Yeah, there was a forum post we got in the script. Guys already asking, when did it start?
All right. Well, give us a little bit of details, Brad, on this video that says Road to Pro canceled.
Yeah, so DJ EJ put up a video kind of, he touches a lot of the stuff that we've gone through, and DJ way gets a little bit more in depth, but does discuss about the grind and what that was like. Because literally, Mike, like you said, it would start in February, and you were grinding almost really until, when did we end up? It was early it'd be early in the following year once you would actually figure out who was in, right?
Right. Like it's a full 12 months almost.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, he kind of covers a lot of the stuff that we talked about, but I think it does kind of change everything. And he touched back on some of the facts of some of the guys that didn't get picked at that top 9 and were basically done. And a lot of guys just, there's some guys just walked away.
Yeah, like sold one of the guys, I forget the name, he literally just sold his equipment too. He put it up for sale. Now, are the changes that we're seeing for next year, 2026, is that because of how bad 2025 is kind of starting off with this debacle of 9 guys not making it and some of them are good? They're obviously ditching that, from what I can tell.
No, you don't know if they're ditching that or not, because it doesn't say how many people are going to qualify for Coke Series in 2026. I suspect they're still going to do this top. I don't think they're getting rid of this top 30 thing. I hope I'm wrong, but I predict that because money is a factor, they're going to continue to have an avenue for somebody who doesn't quite make the top 40 to get drafted in. That's what happened. People who didn't make the top 40 or the top 20 got in because they had money.
Just opening it to any iRacing over X with a safety rating of X and an A license, and just lock the top, say 30 in, and let the last 10 qualify for spots.
I think back when it first started, when it was the peak anniversary series. I mean, that's really the way it was. I mean, it was your top guys on the service.
Well, even the way it was a year ago was still a meritocracy. It's no longer meritocracy.
Well, look, I want to clarify what David is saying too. You know, money might be involved in this final step of getting to the Coke series, but it's not up through there. You have to have the I rating. You have to have the skill to be able to get into the series first. And now, you know, because there's an extra 9 people that don't get picked, you got to present yourself better than them. Is that, like David says, you're paying money or you're racing for no money? Maybe that's more likely than actually paying. Or are you bringing a sponsor? And that's what David's really saying. Like, oh, I have Coca-Cola in my back, in my back pocket. They're going to be on the car. I'm bringing that to a team. They're going to pay the team, so the team will hire me. You know, something like that.
And yes, that's how it is in the real series as well. And I don't like it there either. So
Right.
It is what it is.
We predicted this back when they started bringing the cup teams in.
You predicted it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, seen it before in real racing.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about a little bit about Strauss is going full time, and this is not Johann Strauss because he's dead. But John, can you tell us about Donovan Strauss?
Yeah, so Donovan Strauss, he's well known for iRacing. You know, I think he was in the Coca-Cola series, if I recall.
Yep.
But he's got a full-time ride now in the Z-Max Cars Tour. He's going to go full-time, and I think his first race is coming up in Jacksonville, North Carolina, March the 1st. So always exciting to see iRacers get a chance at the real thing.
He's quick. He's been good in late model.
Nice to see him get a full-time ride.
So we go from a reality to sim story to a sim to reality story. Nice. All right. Bobby, I got to throw this one to you because it's a Trading Paints post. Spire Motorsports Paints.
Hey, I'm reading it. I haven't seen it. I know Spire's designer does iRacing paint, so that's not really that surprising.
Yeah, I ran across this post on X, but apparently, so like you said, Bobby, the guy that does the paints for them is an iRacer, but
he
uploaded.
does iRacing paints as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. You can get the official cars with the official logos. I'm surprised at this point we haven't seen more of this, honestly, because a lot of the guys who do paints do iRacing paints as well.
Yeah,
That still has the green fuel, so they haven't made that update.
No, we're still waiting on that update from iRacing.
and if you watch the clash just this past weekend, the fuel fillers were quite a few of them were still green. Some were different colors. Some were no colors. Some were just green in the center part. So it was kind of interesting to see.
Hey, it's going to be a little bit different because you lose that target without that green. So I think we'll see some changes over the season.
Why don't other teams do this? Why don't I have a Hendrick Motorsports Trading Paints 2025 paints I can pick from, and I can race what Kyle Larson races, and it would even be cooler if it switched every week, like when Kyle Larson's sponsor switches to a different sponsor, that the paint switches too.
There's a number of reasons. Licensing would be the big one. They may not have ability to do that, to upload it where anybody could use it.
That's also quite a bit of work.
Yeah, because you got to make a separate template and a whole new car.
It'd be really cool, but there's a lot of really talented designers out there that get most of these up there. They're at least close. I know when Trackhouse did the 24 and they unveiled their livery, somebody had that up on Trading Paints within a couple hours, and it was fairly close to the real thing.
Tribute paint, in other words, right?
Yeah.
Title idea: tribute paint.
Yeah, there's quite a few guys in iRacing that their specialty is replica paint schemes, and they do an amazing job.
All right, William. Next up, we have a person who is really good at saving tires.
Yeah, so this was posted in a Discord that a few guys are in. It shows, I think Mike has it up on the stream. It shows a Cup car with no wheels or no tires. Apparently, the person who was driving this was turning laps no problem in it. So I'm really curious, was this just a graphical bug or were they actually not having any tire wear?
Yeah, I would think we've seen something like this before, but it would get fixed. But yeah, this is a new report. He needs to report it.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw this on the Premier Racing Setups Discord. So yeah, no tires, nothing. I don't know. It's really weird that for a graphic bug, I mean, the tire's completely gone. So you can see the studs, you can see, I mean, everything on, the brake calipers, you can see everything there except for the tires. It's
Just
really
missing the
weird.
wheel in the tire.
Yeah.
Maybe he used his limit already.
Next up, Trading Paints turns 15, and this is definitely going to be a good year for milestones. We got one coming up ourselves. They're celebrating their 15th birthday with a whole new brand identity. So this is the next post. I haven't clicked play on it yet because the Instagram posts get pretty loud. Oh no, this one's on X. The word mark has been given a facelift, and we've got some new logos. Check it out on Steve's blog post.
I like it. It's clean.
Yeah, it's modern look. Looks really good. Look, Steve Lavender and that other guy, I forget his name. Sorry, they do a great job for the community by offering this free service, and we wouldn't be able to run the paints we want to run without it. I mean, and it helps iRacing avoid some legal issues, so they don't have to do it, and so everybody wins.
Yeah, this is pretty neat. I mean, for those that have been on the service for quite a while, so he's got a link in there to kind of a story, kind of an article about it, but a lot of screenshots of some of what the website looked like when it first started, and you go all the way back to 2010 when it was all brand new. It was great. I mean, coming out of in our 2003 days when you ran leagues and you tried to keep guys skin straight, you had to zip them up and everybody had to download them and extract them, and I mean, it was just it was a nightmare. And this was, I mean, it's unheard of that you could upload your paint and everybody could see it. And I mean, it was really cool. Now, I mean, of course, they've expanded. They've got a pro version, and they've added a website, with a web paint. You can basically paint on the web. And but yeah, I mean, look, I've been a pro member. I was before when I got back on the service. I re-upped again because I think they provide a very valuable service that the community. It would be very boring if all we saw was generic cars every single race.
I can remember when I started in iRacing, that's all you had. You had the default paint schemes to pick from, and that was unless you change colors. And then I'll tell you, there was a few popular colors you saw all the time.
I'm a pro member as well, and I definitely like the fact that they've added the web painting option, because even though I still go in and work the details with Adobe, setting the colors for the base paint is actually a little bit easier within the website, especially if you wanted to do any of the blended colors where it fades from one. Transferring those to Adobe and switching them is about near impossible. So that it's made it really nice to be able to do that. All right. Anybody got headphone marks on their heads?
No.
I think he needs to buy an adult size.
Mike, I think you threw this up in the chat, so you can probably explain this one.
Well, for our audio listeners, they show some gamers that wear headsets, and they wear them so much that they're actually leaving an indentation across the top of their skull, from ear to ear. And this is at first it was a meme. I saw this years ago as a meme, But this is actually a news story that says, hey, this is a problem with some of the world's youth these days that are constantly on the headset, on the gaming consoles and stuff. And I wonder, is there any sim racers that may have this problem, or is there going to be some skull crushing from the heavy VR that people wear? So David's showing us proof.
I don't think my skull's been around long enough. I don't think it's going to change shape anymore.
Well, the
mine's
skulls.
definitely hard enough.
What might be happening if it's kids is their skulls are still growing, and if you put pressure on anything that while it's still growing, that can actually cause it to just not grow as far, right? It's like the opposite of foot binding in the ancient Chinese.
But I mean, most headsets have adjustments. I mean, if it's that tight, are you really that comfortable?
Yeah, I don't know. Some of these pictures you see are pretty freaky.
I'm telling you.
All right, John, what about NASCAR 2025? What do we got here next?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, I think by now that iRacing is doing the NASCAR 25 game that's going to be on the gaming consoles. And we just got a little update on Instagram that the game's in production. And they're giving updates on this, periodically. And I have not seen a release date for this yet, but I got to think it's around the corner because of the production progress here.
Well, Amy Earnhardt definitely thinks it's soon because she thinks she's not going to see Dale for a few days.
So, they show a picture of TJ and Dale, at the microphone, papers in front of them. What are they doing? They're reading this. Well, I'm guessing TJ's recording his spotter parts, and they're going to have a TJ spotter in the game. And I would, guessing what Dale could be reading is he could be the host voice of the game, NASCAR 2025 or, whatever, when it starts up.
I think what were they talking originally? Like probably October Q4 release?
So the only thing they've got on that article they put out a couple weeks ago about the series it's included, they say fall of 2025.
I will put money on it coming out the weekend of the playoffs starting.
But so in the Instagram post, there is one of the comments says, "Get ready. There should be a development diary number 3 coming out soon. That they're recording it currently."
All right, Will, give us a Tag Heuer update.
Yeah, so the first round of PESC was last weekend, and it was really, really good racing, starting at Daytona. The All-Stars went first. Casey Kerwin pretty much dominated there. First place in the sprint and second place in the feature. And then for the main event with the Cup cars, Cooper Webster won the main. It was a really, really close photo finish over Elvis Rankin. It was a great last lap pass. And of course, after I tell everybody last week that nobody's going to beat Sebastian, he has a weekend to forget. So there's that.
Yeah, I watched both the races. The sprint race, he got turned right at the very beginning and really had no chance. So no, the racing was good. Some times where it was a little sketchy and guys making moves, but it was enjoyable. I think these cars are really good at Daytona just because of the drafting and stuff. I'm curious to see how they're going to be at Thruxton. I think it's going to be a mess.
That replay at the end of the winners coming to the line, that was exciting, Brad, and it was because of the drafting effect. The guy in the lead was a sitting duck, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I mean that's when we ran the Roar. I mean that's what happened. I ended up with I finished 5th or whatever. But I mean same thing. I just stayed on the guy, came out of the bus stop, got a run on him. So you could take the draft, and if you can make the move, it makes it easy.
All right, Mike, who didn't give up?
Yeah, we have a funny video on Facebook. by Doug Coley. He put up this guy gets turned in a dirt mini stock race. He loses all self-control and goes after the guy that turned him. Except he ended up managing to hit everything and everybody else while trying. That's a great description of this video where he literally goes across the infield and tries to T-bone the guy, but miss. And then he ends up going backwards on the track, even into incoming traffic. And yeah, this is clearly a protest.
Yeah, he literally almost hits every other car on the track before he finally makes contact with the guy that turned him, right at the very end. So just absolutely ridiculous. I can't even imagine what I would do if I was in that lobby.
Well, I just hope somebody protests that kind of stuff. I mean, when it's that blatant, you got to do something. When they're going backwards on the track and they're going across the infield, and yeah.
All right, so we had a patch this week. We're going to look over the patch notes real quick. The first thing that I noticed when I ran the patch is it asked me if I want to uninstall an old version of Easy Anti-Cheat, and I said sure. So it's going through and checking to see if basically a completely different version or software pack, in fact, that they used to use but no longer use. They're just pulling it off your software because the newest version is by Camu, I believe.
It asked me a different questions, David. I didn't get that one, but I got questions about monitors or VR, and then there was some other question.
I only got the one on the anti-cheat. All right, it's made a change how the scheduler creates open practice sessions. They fixed an issue in race control, which you would have liked a few years ago in a league race, Mike.
The big one, David, is that race control. Lucky Dog, it basically says fixed an issue where a Lucky Dog driver could be incorrectly forced to give up spots to lap cars after a delayed green. Now, if you remember 2 years ago, we were in a league with the marbles, and they would often delay the green. And I complained that that's not fair to the Lucky Dog, because then the Lucky Dog has to let all these other people by that got waived by. And so anyway, I love that they finally got this fixed. This is one of those race control things that we've been waiting for.
It's a start.
That's right. We love it.
They got a long ways to go.
Then everything else is a bunch of minor stuff, it looks like, right?
Yeah, not a whole lot of no home run stuff here. Nothing big surprises. I mean, just car adjustments to damage model, GTPs, reducing the friction on the plank holes. So, yeah, nothing groundbreaking.
All right, here's a one that has a whole lot of replies, and considering we have a member who has to use this feature for accessibility issues, I think this guy should basically STFU. But we have a post that thinks that the racing line should be gone. He says, second, it's one of the most common pieces of advice you see is turn the racing line off. Yeah, if you can. I never had used it. I didn't even know it existed, I think, at some point. So when I was going and learning all the road courses, I left it off. But he thinks it's unrealistic and causes people to take weird lines and braking zones on the track, and thinks it should be completely removed. So everybody chime in on this one.
I've never used it. It's, to me, I think when I got back on, it was set on automatically. And the first time I went out, I was like, oh my gosh, let me turn it off. For me, it's just completely distracting. So I've never used it.
All right. So I added this to the script because I do use the line. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, why?
It's an advantage for me. Now, it might not be an advantage for Brad, but it is for me. It's a reminder of what I should be doing with the pedals, is what it is. I should be off the gas right now. Oh, I should be on the gas back on the gas right now. Or, oh, this is a good time to start hitting the brakes. And so it's just that visual reminder. And then I get the questions, and this always happens when I stream. Why do you have that line on? And then why do I have it on an oval racing? So I'm at Michigan, I'm in a supercar. The line is going, around the track, but I'm not really following it. So they're like, why do you have it on? Well, when you're in a pack of cars, you can use it as a reference. It's a reference point, just like anything else around the track. Like you see the seams in the track and you use those as, oh, this is the first lane, this is the second lane from the seams. I can use the driving line as a reference as well. So my thought is, if the series allows it, I'm going to run it. It's going to be on. Now, if the series doesn't allow it, that's fine. I'll make do and I'll do just fine. But I'm going to run it because I think it's an advantage. Now, this guy in the forums, Greg Holmes, too, who posted this, and he's got 8 pages of responses. I did not look through all of them, but I think he's way out of line. His problem is he doesn't think other people should have it. It's not about him. He doesn't want anyone else to use it, and it should be completely removed. And I think he's wrong. And to David's point, we have a team member who has visual problems. He has problems with his eyes, and he needs that because of his problems. And he's able to enjoy the sim when he probably couldn't if there was no racing line.
Well,
Anybody
yeah,
else use it?
No, I've never used it. I don't have a problem with other people if they want it, but I've never turned it on myself.
Well, I don't understand why this guy really cares if anybody else uses it or not. I mean, if he thinks it's a problem, then he must think that it gives people an advantage, or he wouldn't criticize people for using it.
Duh, that's what I just said. It is an advantage.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's admitting what you've just said, that
So
it's
so he can turn it on and run it.
absolutely.
And you can't run it in B or A series, I believe, as well.
Correct. That's right. B and A don't have it. Anything lower does. And I think that's fine.
I could see an argument for taking it out of C, except for accessibility issues. Because so many of the big, long running series are Class C.
Well, the thing is, you could take it out of Class C, and it wouldn't affect the accessibility issues because they are, even though it's not allowed in A and B, he can use it because of the disabilities.
They flag his account as a disability account, and then he gets.
Yeah, my understanding from
bypass
talking
that.
with him, it was not just a quick email. There was a whole process he had to go through to get approval on it and everything.
He actually had to send him medical records. All right.
Live and let live.
Yeah, we already had another one, but we got another sim to reality story, Brad.
Yeah, this was a post on X from BS Competition, talking about Garrett Lowe in round 5 of the Project Racing League at Homestead Miami Speedway. So he got the win in the race. So they've been a bunch of posts on X this week about this from the week or wherever they're down there. So just it's pretty cool. They're running radicals at Homestead, and Garrett Lowe gets the win. So still pretty cool. And again, this is Racing Prodigy, and ends up grabbing iRacers as they go through and compete. And they do, I guess, about 2 of these a year or so is what they normally do.
Is it Homestead Oval or some road course?
The road course, which
Okay.
we used to run this years ago, back with the Miatas. I think we even ran. I can remember running like the is it the old Corvette DP? Is that
The Grand Am Series used to run.
Yeah. Yep.
IMSA online goes there a few times.
Yeah, it's a fun road course for a Roval.
Almost all the other ovals.
It is.
I wish we would go to the New Hampshire one more too, because you actually go outside the track instead of inside.
Yeah, that one's fun for some of the lower powered cars. We remember running that years ago in the Skip Barber, but yeah, that's a fun one too.
All right, this is interesting, and I wonder if it can be applied to the league structure in iRacing as well as the official series structure in iRacing. Maybe at some point, though, it would never benefit me any good because I'm never the fastest driver. I just rely on consistency. NASCAR is going to award a point for the fastest lap in each race, except for at the championship 4 race. At that point, it's just the person that's farthest up front wins the final race. But everywhere else, fastest lap in the race, 1 bonus point.
The Xfinity fastest lap of the race. Yeah, and then Xfinity stepping back from the Busch series, and they will no longer be called the Xfinity Busch series.
That's not the Busch series.
Oh yeah, it's always going to be the Busch series for me. But
well, there could be an opportunity here in
just call it the Grand National.
I mean, Craftsman kind of understood the assignment. Let's see if Busch understands it.
Yeah, I agree. So I know Xfinity is going to stay on as a premier partner for NASCAR, which is good. But this is pretty neat. I mean, it's all 3 series. I miss the days where guys were fighting for, you go back to the old point structure. It was 5 points if you led a lap. So that was important. It's 5 points if you led the most laps. And then they throw you at halfway money bonuses and stuff like that. It built some stuff up into the race. I mean, when you were fighting for points and you're tracking points the whole year, you're watching your favorite guy. And it's like, hey, you led a lap or you led the most laps. I mean, you could, you get an extra 10 points out of the race just by doing those 2 things. So I'm glad to see him do something.
I think NASCAR is missing out an opportunity here, Brad, of what you just said. They should present championship points for leading a lap and also leading the most laps, because I think it would actually make the strategy a little more complex, because if those points are on the table, I could see, okay, Bubba Wallace, hey, you know what? Let's stay out 1 more lap. Let's not pit yet because we might be able to lead and get that point. You have those kind of thoughts because those points are on the table and you just race differently for them.
I think it would be nice, especially now with the stage racing. Basically, the strategy is you either go for the win or you go for stage points.
Right. Then
right.
That nullifies the whole idea of adding more points in
there. The funny thing is those points were all taken away because fans were complaining the system was too hard to understand and too complicated. And now they're all clamoring for that to come back.
I think the drivers have wanted it to come back the whole time.
I'd love to see it. That would be cool.
So how could we put this into iRacing is the question. NIS or A series?
Yeah, I mean, it flags whoever's got the fastest lap of the race. I mean, that wouldn't be hard.
And you give them what, just 5 championship points or something?
Are we at a point where we need the stages as well then to go with it?
They want the stages because commercial time.
Well, yeah, yellows were down for a long time.
Stages with the shorter races we run, though, Bobby. I don't know how that works.
As bad as the racing is in NIS, we don't need any more cautions.
I would like to see a trial run of it at some point, maybe during the winter series, to see if it actually, maybe guys would calm down a little bit.
Well, it could work in the winter series because you've got drivers who can. Not
the Polar Series, just the overall NIS Winter Series.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. In the Polar Series, the guys that we don't want to race, we don't have any picking. We don't have any control over picking them, but none of the guys that we don't want to race have been allowed in the Polar Series.
No, I wasn't. I was referring to the NIS Winter Series. I think initially the cautions would be up, but I think once guys kind of adapted to it, I think it may actually curb some of it, because you don't have to push the envelope. There's still a time to get back and kind of regather your stuff.
Or maybe what if you did it in the full length races?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that's a good touch. Maybe you just do it in the 4 full distance races as a test. No, none of the others.
Maybe you just had one.
All right, so we have this tweet where this guy decided that he would actually reach out to these small town people, iRacing Myers, and at Dell Jr. We got this big shot who tweeted him. You want to go ahead and tell us about that one?
I would really like to see this place. It's going away. There's no way around it. We're losing that racetrack. It's got a long history of multiple different series racing there, drag racing. We got karts, road
You're burying
racing.
the lead. What racetrack? You didn't tell me.
It's Palm Beach International Raceway. And it's being sold off for property. There's no mention at all of it being used as a racetrack, and it's been closed for a little while now. But the hope is at some point somebody would have bought it and kept it. But my understanding is they're opening another club circuit not too far from there that you can buy into.
So I look at the shot of this racetrack from above, Bobby. It looks like a swampland.
It's South Florida, yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's got a long history. I mean, it's been around since what the early 50s, I think.
Has there been series that we're familiar with that race on it, like IMSA or NASCAR or something?
Yeah, I mean, Trans Am's raced there before. You had a lot of the NHRA teams would do a lot of like off-season testing there. You had a lot of the, not like IMSA. IMSA would have gone there, but Trans Am, your smaller like Miata series and stuff like that, SECA.
So, Bobby, did you get a response from iRacing that they might be able to scan this track?
I haven't seen one yet. I haven't been able to. I've been busy all day on rebuilding the simulator. I really would like to see, when we hear of a racetrack going away, I would like to see them get scanned just for the historical standpoint, so they don't completely ever go away.
Right. I mean, it's probably, it is a cost to iRacing, but man, they're growing. It'd be another track for their repertoire.
And that's the thing. Maybe it just gets put in a file somewhere. It doesn't get pulled out until there's a slow period, or there's a downtime where they need an extra track.
Right.
Yeah,
Just get the scan, right?
Yeah, at some point you're going to run out of tracks to scan. I mean, let's what happens 15 years from now, you're going to run out of places to scan.
Yeah,
They'll have every track.
And the thing is, we've seen NASCAR's adding historical cars to iRacing. We've seen other historical Formula cars added. Yeah, we've seen historical sports cars added. So it would be nice to have an older track, maybe that doesn't exist anymore, for those series to run on. Or maybe we get a point where we have enough regional tracks that we see like a SCCA in racing and iRacing.
All right, I'll take the next one. Sim Gaming Expo. It's coming up in September. Did I skip one? I skipped one. Sorry. That's ironic because this one actually has the word skippable in it. All right, it's a forum post. The skippable podium animation after the race will be sweet. Camera folder fades to black. Short celebration podium. Each driver a few seconds. He thinks this will be neat and wholesome moments for fun. And at least he said skippable, because for what if you stay up, you have to wait till everybody does their cool down lap, all right? Or do you just the podium guys go in there? Because some people go do burnouts. That there's actually a little bit more challenge to doing something like this than you might think.
No, you do it after they get out of the car. You hit the escape key or whatever right then. That's when you show it.
So just on their client. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just have a pre-rendered animation and then just overlay the car file on top of it.
Yeah, I used to have this back in like NASCAR 3 and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had the newspaper that would come up afterwards.
Yep.
I love this. Good idea.
You had to have your name in there and everything.
I think
now
the end of these. Sorry, Dave. I was going to say the end of these races is climactic. I can't say the word right. You win the race, sometimes you have the fireworks going off. Like if you're at Charlotte or something, you'll see the fireworks on the backstretch, and that's kind of neat. But yeah, it'd be neat just to have something else. Look, maybe just for the top 3. If you're not in the top 3, you don't get any animation.
Something that would be simpler even than a whole 3D animation that comes from the DCS world. Whenever we finish a mission, they can have like an image pop up as an overlay on the screen. So you could also have something like that just pops up, like a congratulations podium, something along those lines.
Right. Just anything. Just, you're a winner, and there's a checkered flag waving or something. Make it, so Donnie, who's not here tonight, he's the one who's always asking for stuff like this. Anyway, I think it's a great idea. They should do it.
I would just like to be able to drive the car into victory lane. I think that'd be cool at some of these tracks.
All right, I'll hit the next one now. Sim Racing or Sim Gaming Expo is coming up in September, and there's going to be 2 podcasts there. So we'll talk a little about the leader of this organization. He actually runs he ran the Lionheart League, that was the famous IndyCar league for a long time. He stepped away from that and is letting some of his friends kind of handle the day-to-day operations as he's putting together this Sim Expo. And he's going to be a guest for us next week. But if you want to catch a preview of that, he was also on Into the Apex last week. And that's how I actually got his name. I've gotten in touch with him, and we're looking at having our own show there as well. And just by crazy lucky math, based on the 2 weeks we took off back in 2024, it's going to be our 500th episode.
Wow, that's kismet. I mean, that's like, how does that work out, David, that somehow our 500th episode is going to be the same exact week as the Sim Expo?
It was meant to happen.
That's right.
So we're setting it all up, and it's probably going to happen. We're going to invite everybody, every one of our listeners that can make it out there. We're going to turn it into an event and do a show live at the Sim Expo. They already have the Sim booth plan set up that both us and the Into the Apex guys are going to have access to, and we have some other ideas that are in the works that it'll just depend on how our finance work out if we do those. So that's kind of a surprise announcement, but yeah, we're planning on having our 500th episode in Chicago.
Yes, and I'm thinking about, like, we're going to print some stickers up to give out to listeners. I was even thinking about a raffle. You show us that you're subscribed to the podcast on your phone. We'll give you a raffle ticket, and at the end of the show, we'll pull the raffle, and somebody wins an iRacers Lounge hat or maybe a shirt. And so I haven't really, I got some ideas on stuff. Bobby, you're working on some artwork for those ideas. I'm even thinking about getting a little banner for iRacers Lounge that we can just pop up so you guys can find us, so lots of cool ideas.
All right, speaking of other events that we are involved in and hosting, coming up Saturday, we're having the iRacers Lounge Clash. February 8th, 8:15 is when the practice is going to start. 9 p.m. is the race. Those are Eastern Standard Times. Caution laps do not count, at least in the main event. I don't know about if we have heat races. It's going to be the next gen set with the next gen car with fixed set, 20 laps for the main event at Daytona International Speedway. And do not know if we're going to do heat races or not. Chris has been playing around with the different options, and it just depends on how many people sign up. We only have about 21 people signed up right now. Need more signed up. We need to feel the field. It's probably going to be a public lobby, but if we have more signed up, he's more likely to set up the heat race format.
Yeah, that's why you guys want to sign up instead of just showing up. We appreciate that because it does give Chris a gauge of how many people he's going to be working with, and then he'll manage those qualifying races accordingly. Like if we could fill the room, we were talking about maybe even 3 qualifying races.
And as we announced last week, winner will get a push to talk NASCAR style button box for your wheel from one of the shops on Etsy. So,
Unless it's one of us that wins.
and it'll go to the next finishing listener.
Okay, so if you're hosting the podcast, you can't win it. I see.
That's
So
the way
I
it
quit
works.
for a week.
That's the way it works. Employees not what's the fine print?
Employees not eligible.
Employees not eligible. There you go.
Oh, that's
I
fair.
haven't seen my paycheck, so I'm good.
We're gonna double it for next year, Bobby.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, add a 0 to that 0.
Hey, that's actually a different number if you're playing roulette. What else is happening this week, Brad?
So we got the final week of the Winter iRacing NASCAR Series, and they are at Homestead. We've got the as we talked before, we got the year-long Dirt Late model and the Dirt 410 Sprint Cars. Dirt Late model is at Lucas Oil Speedway. 410s are at Volusia. And the actually I have the Wheelie Modified. That's the year-long one. Will be starting at New Smyrna this week. So anybody that was interested in that, I know we talked about that last week with the Wheelie Modifieds and with the super late models. So always good stuff to jump into.
All right, podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Check out our Discord and get involved in the discussion. There's lots of stuff going on there. And our show notes at iRacersLounge.com. We are in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network. And you can order your own iRacers Lounge merchandise to wear to that Sim Gaming Expo at iRacersLounge.shop.
All right, Brad, this one is for you. Don't you just hate how that DDU is always in the way of the replay button?
Yes, I do. So I want to give a shout out to Cody McLean, and then I also had listener Shank 950 had put some videos into the Discord. So Daniel Newman Racing has released an invisible dash. So this works through SimHub, and there's an option in SimHub where you can actually pick an area that'll basically will copy or record or however you want to say it, but it'll show up on the DDU, so you can actually see through it. So been playing around with this a little bit. So first issue for me that I ran into, and it's a SimHub issue, is SimHub defaults to whichever of your monitors is your main monitor. So for me and my triples, my left monitor is my main monitor. So you can't move the box off of whatever the main monitor is. So I moved it to the center monitor, and it works well. There's an issue where you can't see the cursor. And from looking at the Daniel Newman Racing Discord, I guess it's a GPU issue, is what he's saying. But no, this is pretty neat. I'm probably still playing around with it a little bit. The idea is that you can then put a hotkey in. So like I run the lovely dashboard, and say I'm in the game and I hop out and I want to look at the replay, I can set a hotkey to switch to the Daniel Newman Invisible Dash. Then you can actually see, what it does is it takes that box that you make on your screen, and that's what shows up on the DDU. So it's really neat. It's not an exact 1-to-1 as far as scale, but you can see, like when I was playing around with it, the biggest issue I have is if I set my middle monitor as my main monitor, then my taskbar is now behind the DDU. Well, I don't want to always have my DDU on. Just if I'm on the, if I'm messing around with something else. But no, it's neat. It's very cool. So Daniel Newman is most known for his LED profiles and whatnot. But this is cool. I think it's just going to. I think it can be expanded a little bit more. And he's said that I guess there's some updates hopefully coming from SimHub that may fix some of the issues. So, but thanks to the guys that posted this, we're on the way to getting it fixed. But yeah, it's very cool.
How much does it cost?
It's free.
Okay.
Yeah, it's free.
I'll have to try it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a there's a paid side to him for the plugin, just like Lovely Dashboard has a paid version of that, which I have. It's only like $3 a month or something, but you get a little bit better better access and stuff. But yeah, no, like I said, it's neat. So like, yeah, I know like you got your phone up there. So yes, you could do the same thing, with your phone, I believe.
I think I can. I'm going to look into that because that might be something I like. All right, looks like David stepped away for a moment. Next up was Advanced Sim Racing is now the official supplier for the FIA. It says FIA appoints Advanced Sim Racing as the official supplier for sim racing installations. So is this a big deal? Do we care?
I think it's pretty big deal. I mean, we've talked. The FIA is definitely, getting their hands into esports. But this actually, the announcement came through an email, and I know that Greg got it and I got it as well. But along with this, they're throwing in a lot of sales stuff. So there was an email that if you buy the Generation 5 D box, you get a free chassis. The traction loss platform, you get a free chassis. So there's a lot of stuff that they've thrown in with this. But look, you know how the FIA is. There's going to be an official somebody. So, we've talked about ASR quite a bit. I think they're probably one of the most reputable dealers in North America. I don't think I've ever heard a bad thing about them.
I'm a fan. I really am. I've bought two things from them. I bought a PC shelf, and then I bought the triple monitor stand. And both times, I've had really good success with them. So, and we had a teammate, Chris Waldron, thinking about buying a new rig in the chat today. And people were recommending the Advanced Sim Racing 6, I believe. And I think I threw out the ASR Pro V2. But look, I mean, when a friend needed a rig, I mean, this is the company we're telling him to pick.
Yep, I have an ASR4, and you won't hear me say a bad word about it. I think it's good for everybody.
Did you go with a color, William?
No, it was when I bought mine. Supply chain issues were really bad, so the only option I had was black.
Do you have any regret from not getting the ASR 5 or the ASR 6 or whatever?
No, this is everything I need. Even if I was to upgrade to a 25-30 Newton meter wheelbase, it could handle it, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at some of their newer stuff. The only issues I've got, and I think Bobby, you brought it up too, the newer stuff, they powder coat them, and that's my only concern there. Once you scratch something that's powder coated, it's scratched, and then you can't really match up colors very well.
Yeah, and the other thing too is they use it's not just a gloss black; it's like a metallic black, which I mean looks nice. But the problem is, we all know how our spending habits are. We all buy stuff randomly off the whim of a harebrained idea. My fear is then it won't match, and my OCD will definitely kick in on that. That's my one big gripe about that. And that they seem pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got a Track Racer TR 160, and it's the kind of that flat black, which is fine because I can grab a Sharpie and cover up almost any scratch. That's what I like.
All right, next up we have an Instagram post that I'm not particularly impressed with. If the post is correct, it's coming soon. The ultimate racing experience the ultimate immersion, and it says it's going to have it's designed for position stability and comfort. It'll bring real racing sensations to your home. Is this does this just not match up with the picture I'm seeing? Is there actually motion in this or something? Or is this just overly hyped marketing?
You mean they marketed something to get you to buy it?
I don't see any actuators on this thing, and I'm not particularly impressed with the rig.
No, it
How about
looks like
those
a very
pedals?
It's got a PlayStation logo, so that leads me to believe it's designed to put it in your living room and play on a PlayStation. So it's probably not designed at the hardcore sim racer.
Yeah, it's got Fanatec gear on it, so that's probably what is that, about the 5 Newton meter base there.
It can be 5 or 8 depending on which power supply you have.
That's
This
right.
is like a 1-inch square tube kind of cockpit. Yeah, not a fan.
Did you not know how that's how that one works, Brad? They came out with when they came out with the 5 and the 8. It literally is controlled by which power supply you have.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that. So yeah.
There's also ways around that too.
All right, you hinted at it earlier, Mike. 590 or 490?
Yeah, so we got a video here from none other than Tony Kanaan showing the differences. He's got him a 5090 in his iRacing garage, obviously from his partners at Micro Center. And he shows us some frame rate comparisons of between the two. And for the video I saw, it's quite significant. It's almost double in some cases, maybe 50 to 100% more on frames.
Outside of the frames, I don't see any difference. Okay. And I'd be curious to know what maxed out is, because me by myself with a 4080, I'm maxed out. I'm pretty much maxed out. I think at Daytona, the only thing, yeah, Daytona doesn't have the new grass bottle and stuff like that, but I have everything else on high, and I get just as good frame rates with the 4080 and by myself.
You know what? One of the main things that's driving the GPS development now is not graphics; it's
AI.
actually AI. Yeah. So I think they may be more concerned with some of these. Some of these upgrades have less to do with gamers and more to do with AI, because the GPUs are better at running AI operations than CPUs.
Where did we see this before? Oh, that's right. It was a crypto.
I don't know. I think I mentioned before, my only issue with the whole, there was the debate, I guess, what was it? Whatever the 5 series that was going to be, what, $600 was going to give you just as much, just as much power as what the 4090 or whatever. Is that what it was? But the whole thing is it's AI frames, so it's producing multiple frames that aren't actually there. And I think my concern there is in sim racing, that's the last thing I want. I don't want what would be basically, I guess, almost a fake frame. Do you know what
A
I'm saying?
phantom frame.
Yeah. I mean, again,
The human brain is going to take anything faster than 60 or 90 and just and compose it all together anyway. I don't believe anybody can really see a difference between 90 and 120.
And to Brad's point, I mean, does a sim racer need to buy a 5090? They don't.
I mean, even in rain in a full field, I mean, my frames will drop down into the mid 50s, but I don't have any stuttering issues. I don't have any lag or anything. It doesn't bother me at all.
The only counter argument to that, Mike, is the whole buy once, cry once. Even though we're always upgrading our video cards, but a 590 or a 5090 would last a long time. That would be about the only advantage of getting it.
Didn't they say that 18 months ago with a 4090?
And they said that with 3092. The thing is, too, there's a certain point where you are better off upgrading other parts of your PC, like a CPU, than just keep throwing a video card at it every year.
My 3090 is still getting the job done.
But Joe's still on a 2080 or a 1080.
All right. I'm going to throw this one at you, Bobby. Well, because it's your list.
Yeah, right in the middle of it. Yeah, so I'm in the middle of a complete teardown and rebuild on my rig. Somebody was on the team was asking about butt kickers. I don't remember who it was. Was it Chris? And I was like, well, you can spend a lot of money going butt kickers, or you can just build something like what I've got, which is it's got 3 little mini amps, a USB sound card, and then 4 25-watt shakers, one at each corner, and then a 50-watt shaker on the seat. And I think it was literally for the cost of maybe 1.5 butt kickers.
Okay, so we got a comprehensive part list here on the script from Amazon and Etsy of all the different things you need to make this work. So there's a rig mount, there's a power brick little holder. So that means you can mount the power brick right on the rig, right?
Yeah, everything would be off the floor. I actually forgot to order the brick holder from the SimSport Gadgets people. I'll probably have another order for them coming up.
And the sound card and everything. So if you want to, if a listener wants to do this haptic project, you can come here and get all the links.
But it's very simple to set up too with SimHub now.
So you're running three shakers?
5.
4 on each corner, and then 1 attached to the bottom of the seat.
But just running, 3 amps because they're 2-channel amps?
Yeah, correct. And then I got to go back I ended up going with the sound card, just wiring simpler from the amps to the PC. Instead of having, 3 USB and then trying to figure out which amp goes to which. The way I put it on the sound card was the front speakers go to the front shakers, the rears go to the rear.
So with that external sound card, that works fine. You didn't have to do an internal one or anything?
No, you can use I've used external sound cards before. I had to get a little bit larger one than what I had. I don't have it all quite. I don't even have it fully wired up yet.
You run everything out of SoundHub, nothing out of iRacing?
No, I used SimHub last time when I had the shaker on the previous chassis. It's a little more detailed than what iRacing was offering. iRacing is good for a single shaker, just a generic setup, just to get you up and running. But if you really want to dial in the detail, you can go into SimHub, and it really lets you play around with it.
So with the four, one on each corner, you're gonna send left front to the left front. I mean, you can actually split it up that evenly.
Yes, you can even put one on the shifter too for shifts. I've got an extra channel, and that's what I was trying to play with. If I want to add one to the shifter, for like a little clunk when you shift, might be kind of nice. Just might be fun.
Will you can you throw up in the chat what shakers that you got so I can add those? That's the one thing that's missing from the list.
Okay, yeah, I thought I put them in there, but I'll throw them up again.
You might have, and we just missed it. But yeah, if you don't mind, that way I can put it in the list so listeners have got it.
I know the one of the seats, the BST1, and then the pucks are the TT25s.
All right, next up we have a shifter, and based on the title as well as their post, I think this one is on Instagram. I think we should call it the Shirley shifter because it's seriously a good shifter. What do you think, John?
Well, so the guy that reviewed this, he said it was fine. It's $130. I think it just came out yesterday or today, actually. But it's Turtle Beach's entry into the shifter / handbrake market. You can either use it as a shifter or handbrake. The shifter sequential or H pattern 7 gear. This guy actually mounted 2 of these on his rig, so he could use one as a shifter, one as a handbrake. The upshot of this is he said the shifter's fine. It's a good shifter, but not a good handbrake. There are better options out there for a handbrake in that price range if you want. But it looks different than what most of us are used to. I think this kind of looks to me more like a console gamer kind of thing. I don't know. It's not. It doesn't have the look for me. But this guy said it worked fine.
I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see any of the Turtle Beach stuff in person. Our local Best Buy has it, and my 6-year-old has been bugging Grandma to get him one for his sim chassis that we were building. They're actually quite nice entry level piece. They come with a button box for the steering wheel. So if this is like anything like the other products they made, it's probably a real decent entry level shifter.
It's got a table clamp, it looks like, so that's a hard no for me.
Yeah, so I don't really use a shifter, so take my opinion for what it's worth, because all my cars have pedals. But when I first looked at it, I liked it, and then the longer I looked at it, the more I didn't like it. I don't know, something about it, the look is just not for me. In the video, though, something I thought was cool, and I don't know if other shifters work this way, but you can use this as a handbrake as well, apparently.
Yeah, it looked quite functional with the sequential, the H pattern, the brake. I like the look of the leather surround on the shaft. Makes it look like it came out of a regular car almost, but it does have that plasticky look, like it's been 3D printed kind of look.
You just gotta remember what the audience too they're selling it to. This is entry level. This is not something hardcore guys are gonna buy.
Right.
Yeah, if you compared it to a Logitech G29, I think it's probably gonna be pretty similar.
Yeah, like I said, when I looked at it at Best Buy, the build quality actually was seemed really nice on their stuff. So I was, like I said, my 6-year-old's bugging for one, so we might try it out.
Okay, that takes us to results. Let's talk about it. We have Winter NIS. John, P16.
Yeah, this was the race at Talladega last Friday night, and man, it was just a bad race. I banged the outside wall of turn 2 twice. The car was just way too loose, and I just couldn't keep it under control. Second time I hit the wall, gave me wheel damage. It was fatal, and so I rage quit with about 8 laps to go. Better luck next time for me.
And I did a rare start in Winter NIS Talladega Sunday fix, trying to back up a win I got last year in that same series at that track, but I ended up P11. I did run top 5 all night, led some laps, and then a guy in front of me got loose near the end. I tagged him, ended up with 5 minutes damage, and had to bring it home P11. Let's talk other racing I ran, and I've been running religiously the BMW M2 at Circuit de Lebanon. Qualified 8 out of 12. It was a very competitive race. I finished P5. Very happy with that. Still 1 second off the fast guy. I have no idea how they're getting there that fast. I just can't do it. We ended up switching tracks to the Okayama International Circuit. Qualified 11 out of 12. Wrecked out on that one. Next run, I qualified and don't know where I qualified. I finished P3. Great run. Next race, got up to 3rd, but the guy in 4th decided to wreck me out, and I got my car destroyed, and it was a DNF. And then IMSA, Brad, DNF City.
It's been a bad week at Monza. So 2 starts, 2 DNS. I've completed a total of 5 laps in 2 races. So super frustrating. First race, coming out of Lesmo 2, I dropped the left rear off, spun the car, destroyed it. Just pushing too hard. And then jumped to the race last night. Dave and I were on there together, and we're coming down the backstretch, and as typical iRacing, we're going to get the green flag before we even get to Parabolica, and everybody checks up, and I hit the guy in front of me, the guy behind me plows into me. So I, start, go into Parabolica, and the car spins out. I'm like, well, that was weird. Check my spotter, and he's like, you got front end damage, you got rear end damage. Well, I had no rear end, no wing, no nothing. Look, this is to iRacing. If the spotter's gonna tell me how much damage I have, I need to know that I don't have a wing. That would be incredibly important to know, because I would have at that point pulled right into the pit road. So no, again, I can't tell. I couldn't tell when we hit Parabolica. Maybe somebody hit me and I spun because somebody else spun with me. So I head on down the track and end up spinning 2 more times because I've got no rear wing. So it would be nice to get that changed. But yeah, this is a very frustrating track for me. I'm gonna probably try one more time, but I got to do something because I've lost a whole point of SR or something, like 2.5, which makes me nervous.
I was in that one, and the same thing happened at the front. The leader was kind of way up, and the guy in the second in line on the inside line laid back and didn't go. And so it looked like they were going, but then they didn't go. So I gunned it, and realizing they weren't going, I moved over to the right and checked up. But because I checked up, another guy who was just flat out jumping the restart completely torpedoed me. And he may have been fooled as well, but he never tried to check up. He went gun ho and wiped me out right off the beginning. I did get a P5, I think, later, finished with only like 2x. So it was nice to get one clean race there.
Well, this just goes back to we need legitimate real starts for multi-class. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, the first race, they started as we were coming out of the S's before the backstretch. The second race, everybody's just waiting and waiting and waiting. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason, especially when you're second and third class. It's pot luck. I mean, you don't know when you're going to go green.
Well, the GTPs should really, just to save wreckage, should go in the current window. They should go early. When they go late, when they've waited till the green flag comes out, I've actually had GT or LMP2s run into us before we've even started, because they go ahead and decide to start their own race before the green's even out.
Like I said, this should be a high priority for iRacing, is to get multi-class starts correct.
All right, William, how'd you do in yours?
Oh man, it was frustrating week. I haven't done a race at Monza yet. These are all from Road America after re-recorded, but before the swap over. It's really frustrating because I had a lot of pace there, but just some terrible things happened. First one, started P2, finished P12. Because of probably the worst rejoin I've ever seen by an LMP2. If you're in our Discord, I posted the video. It's just awful. He loses it himself coming out of the first turn, and then just crawls a broken car right into the middle of the track. Took out probably 4 of the top 10 GT3 cars coming through. Second race, started P2. I grabbed the lead by the first turn and led for about 12 laps, and then got a meatball from a GTP trying to pass me. A good bit of netcode, so I can't really be too mad at him. But just in the patch notes earlier, they were talking about the McLaren getting a little bit stiffer rear end, which I'm glad, because I thought I was going crazy, because the hit that gave me a meatball was just ridiculous. I mean, it was barely a tap, and I've got 8 minutes to repair, so that's frustrating. My third race, I finally got a result. Messed up both my quality laps, so I started P19, but I was able to get it up to P4. Still had pace. Finally got a good result there after
Great run.
Mess of a week.
Great run. And then how about the GT Sprint?
Oh yeah, so this is Road Atlanta. This was last night, I believe. Really second split, really fast guys. Second out of 7, I think. Qualified P16 out of 32. Found a little bit of pace during the race. Got up to P11. Might have been able to get a top 10, but I had a really slow pit stop. I was slow coming in, just trying not to kill the car.
Whoa, and you got a IMSA Endurance Series start.
Right. This was also Road Atlanta. I teamed up with one of the guys from Grassroots Racing. It's a 2-hour, 40-minute IMSA race. I made a bad mistake going on lap 4. I put my car into the vortex of danger. Somebody turned in on me. Should never have put my car there. But The guy who was in the car was not the guy who qualified. A 3K iRating guy qualified the car and then stuck a 1.5K iRating guy in it, and it just was awful. It was really just a moving roadblock and causing all sorts of problems. I got impatient trying to get around him because I'd already been passed because of this, and like I said, just put it bad spot. My teammate got in the car and had a really clean, really good run. We got it back up to P6.
All right, and then league hosted. I ran the BMW M2 up Mount Washington Hill climb in time trial. It was actually pretty fun. I'm getting used to that car, and I forget how fun Mount Washington Hill climb is. And then I ran Gen 5 at Talladega with a nice P5 finish. William, you had Grassroots Racing League.
Yep, our Tuesday GT3 GTP League. Not much. We're in Barcelona. I hate it. That's all.
Okay.
It's the way I feel about Monza.
Moving to next week, right? David, Polar Series, Phoenix.
Yeah, I finally got a top 10 on the season finale. There's something about Phoenix that just works with that car that just works better for me. It was the last place I won in it. Had good speed in the long run. However, the aero push that the real guys see, it happens in iRacing for sure as well. I could run down some cars and they weren't doing anything to block me or racing dirty in any way, but I would catch up with them and I'm like, all right, I'm going to set this guy up. And unless they were like really handling issues, then I couldn't get past him. And I couldn't even get to I couldn't even get beside them even or get close enough to say, quote unquote, nudge them. It was like there's this wall and the car would just slow down. And then in the process of trying to get a run, my tires would get hot and then they'd pull away from me. So it's real, especially at Phoenix. And that's supposed to be like a short track, but you catch a car and the aero is just awful.
All right, let's jump into final thoughts. David Hall.
Busy weekend next weekend. We have both the Mech series running at Silverstone as well as the Intimidator, which is going to be a Daytona 500 in the 87 cars. I know quite a few of us are running both of those. So that's what I've got on the docket for the next week.
And don't forget our iRacers Lounge hosted event this Saturday night. Greg Hectus, final thought.
I'm just, I guess David and I are participating in that at Silverstone, right, David? Is that what we said? Yeah, so that's next weekend. But I'm looking forward to racing Daytona with everybody in the Clash race for us and have some fun on Saturday night.
All right, Bobby Jonas, final thought.
Well, I'm getting to the end of my rebuild project on my chassis, and I just realized hopefully this time next week I'll have won my second Daytona 500 in a row.
That's right. We're going to get it. We're going to go get that win. You are going to get one. I'm going to get one. And this old guy, John Curley, he's going to get one this year.
Oh, yeah.
You got it, right, John?
I'm going to make John a road racer, get him a road victory.
We're working on it.
Okay, Brad Wren, final thought.
Yeah, so NIS starts next week. Looking forward to that. Going to take and I mentioned last week, got all the stuff in to redo all the wiring on my rig. Going to pull that out this weekend. Get everything cleaned up. I've added a bunch of stuff over the last year, and instead of pulling stuff down, I've just kind of either zip tied another wire into the pool of wires or a Velcro strap. But yeah, going to do that. Grabbed a few things from SimSport Gadget to make things a little bit easier. Keyboard holder and stuff like that. So looking forward to do that. Yeah, just get it kind of cleaned up and make sure everything's good, tightened up for next week. And other than 1 week, guys, we start the 36-week grind.
That's right. Let's go get it. John Curley, final thought.
Yeah, I'm like Brad Wren and Bobby Jonas. I'm doing rig work this weekend. I got a new quad monitor stand I'm going to put together, get that in place before Daytona. And I've got a Stream Deck XL that I'm going to use as a button box. So I've got to go on a search to figure out how to map buttons and get icons. So any of the listeners have any suggestions, drop
I
it in
can send
Discord.
you a profile set up and get you up and running.
Well, there you go. Ask and ye shall receive.
How are you going to mount it?
So I've got on my rig, I've got a little platform I can put it on.
All right.
Those Sports Gadgets make some really nice mounts for them.
Yes, they do. You can spend a lot of money there in a hurry. So, and then, Bobby, I know you bought a bunch of stuff from them, but I mean, look, I'm in Virginia. They're in New Jersey. I ordered stuff Sunday and it was here yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Florida near Daytona and I can get it usually within 3 days. I mean, their service is just outstanding.
Absolutely.
Okay, where are we at? John Curley, final thought.
So yeah, like I was saying, get that quad monitor stand built, get working on the Stream Deck button box, and get ready to win Daytona for the first time in NIS.
That's right. Let's go get it. I think you're ready this year. You got that experience now. William Westbrook, final thought.
Yeah, so 2 quick things. David, I forgot to mention this during results, but there's this YouTube channel called iRacing Idiots of the Week. Basically, they just pull crashes off of YouTube and Reddit and all that. I'm 99% sure I saw your pile up at Road America in there from the race we were in. You might go check it out. Second, my Gobi lights just got here from Amazon. So anybody that was thinking about getting them, currently there's a 25% off coupon on Amazon. If you want to grab them, go get it. So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go set those up.
Let me know if you need any help.
Yeah, will do.
I know I will.
For the record, that pileup is not the pileup I was talking about at Monza.
Yep, separate.
That one, the track was just blocked and there was nowhere to go.
Yeah,
I slammed on the brakes and actually locked up and spun out. But then about 7 other people just came in and ARCA braked and torpedoed everybody.
Yeah, it was the Road America after the kink, and the entire track. You watch it from David's point of view, the entire track is just blocked.
All right. And then my final thoughts. Financially, I'm thinking about the Moza active pedals. And am I going to get 1 or am I going to get 3? And I'm actually debating getting all 3. I think I can swing it financially. That's what's been going through my mind this week is 460 times 3, with tax and shipping, probably like $1,500. That's what I'd spend on some sim coaches or something. So I might just get all 3. But and then I was thinking maybe I'll just get 1 and see how it goes, and then I'll buy the other 2 later. But if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to do it and get all 3. I don't know. I got that kind of rolling through my mind about how am I going to approach that when it comes on sale.
I'm going to interrupt you. On your current pedal set, can you pull just 1 pedal out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then that's the route you should go to start.
Yeah. I can always buy the others later, right? Yeah.
Especially the clutch. I just don't see you needing it for a clutch. I mean, how often you run auto blip. You don't even need the clutch.
I sometimes use a clutch. I got to spin the car around after I wreck.
Wow.
You got to dump the clutch and hit the throttle, right? To spin the car.
Oh, man.
I know we just raced at Bowman Gray. I think there's some attitude carrying over into the podcast this week.
And then, look, NIS is coming up. Daytona 500. I haven't won it since 2022, so it's been a while, and I just feel more confident than I've ever been going into this race. I have never felt more confident, and I don't know why. Is it because I won Talladega last fall, or what it is? But I just feel cocky going into this. I feel like Bobby and John and me and probably some others really have a really good chance of winning this. So I'm super stoked for this team, Tifosi. I think we're one of the best oval guys out there, and we're going to get it done. So with that, we'll see you on the track later. Okay, title ideas. We have 2.
I like number 2.
Don't call me Shirley.
Vote.
Yeah.
Vote. Everyone call out 1 or 2.
2.
2.
Okay, well, 2 it is.
2.
So which Gobi lights did you get?
The same ones Brad got.
No, I got the newer ones, the larger 15-inch version. So that's why the adapter from SimSport Gadgets didn't work. And I talked to him. He's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I probably should put that up on the website." He's like, "I have it." He's like, "I should probably put it up there." So we were right. They're gonna get mounted. Hopefully, I gotta get this seat put in. I just got the shaker mounted to the seat. I'm gonna put the seat in now, and then gonna try before I go to bed to get the monitor mount.